mean, realistically, we know where we are with the pandemic, but what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I saw that statistic, Hayley. It is really worrying, isn't it? And I think, if you look more broadly across society, the pandemic's having a massive impact on everybody's mental health. But of course, for police officers who already work in one of the most stressful jobs that is out there, that we've proven that with research, haven't we? On top of that type of work, all the other things that the pandemic has brought, particularly actually in our personal lives, people have suffered loss, they've not been able to grieve, all the things that affect, the general population can have an enhanced effect, when it's a job that you do that's pretty stressful. And I think the other thing that we've got to recognise is that the uncertainty of some of the role that policing's been asked to do through the pandemic, that was commented on in the recent HMIC report. Then you've got the protest, the disorder, some of the type of work that they've been doing around enforcing COVID regulations. It's been a really tricky year, hasn't it? But I, for one, I'm very proud of how policing stepped up, actually. I think it's sort of typical of what we do, isn't it, in a crisis? It's just that this crisis has gone on seemingly forever, so it's been a very prolonged crisis as well, which is unusual, isn't it, even in our game. The other thing that I think we can do now is, which we are doing, is starting to look at fatigue and recovery. I know this is something very close to your heart, but we've already got evidence that this is a job that takes it out of you. And COVID, it's been like no breaks, it's been no respite. We need to come out of that, and we're using that evidence to influence the recovery program. And we're saying, look, it's necessary now to recognise that after 12 months of working in such a complex environment like this, we need to really focus even more than we have been doing before on recovery and fatigue. And that's something that we really need to start reducing stigma about, because it is something that is, just accepted that everybody is knackered, basically, policing all the time. And it doesn't have to be so, but it's another one of those things, a bit like mental health 4 or 5 years ago, where we didn't really recognise it, we didn't talk about it, we just accepted it, and we didn't do enough to actually manage it, to improve it. And I think that's the big thing Oscar Kilo is pushing on with now, because we've got all the evidence, even without the pandemic, to say this is a major issue, and it's a risk issue, it's a welfare issue, and there is things that we can do to improve it.
Yeah, Andy, I completely agree. As well as I do, the Federation have been constantly raising issues around fatigue for a number of years, and the pandemic has almost culminated in bringing everything together to say, do you know what? Ultimately, if we don't look at this now, then what's it going to look like as we start to recover from the pandemic?